Good morning, this is Christine. It is Monday, October 19, 2015. Again, it's in the morning. I had another nightmare last night, the night of 10/18/15. I don't know what is going on with me. Am I lost? Am I the one cast into outer darkness? I know I have felt like an outsider in this world for pretty much my entire life. I have never really felt like I fit in anywhere. I'm one of those people who sort of marches to the beat of my own drum, even if it means I have to walk alone. My struggle is learning how to walk with others and get involved in teamwork and unity. I'm so used to doing things myself, but isolation is lonely. I would like to join in with others, but don't know who or where or what to join. I know there are many people out there that I am finding who are of like mind, and that makes me feel better, but I still feel lonely inside for some reason. I put that video up previously about follow the flight plan, and then the video about understanding after it. Then last night I go and have this nightmare. I don't know if darkness is trying to snuff me out or what is going on, but I have the strangest dreams lately, or sometimes. I had been offered in this dream, or told that I'd won this lottery type of prize, and it was for a vacation getaway, somewhere in the tropics with all expenses paid, hotel, etc. A part of me felt like it was one of those scams, and to not believe it, but for some reason I accepted it and started getting ready for my trip. I purchased a one-way ticket, which should have clued me in that something was wrong here, and I boarded the plane. I was sitting in the middle section of the plane, and there were other people on this plane who had also won the same trip and were going to the same place as me. There was also a guy on there who was wearing a red and blue shirt, and he had dark hair, and he and I quote-unquote clicked somehow, attraction-wise or sexually. Whenever the lights went out, we were all over each other, and noticed that this only happens under the cover of darkness in the plane. When the lights on the plane came back on, we played it cool and behaved ourselves. I really liked him and felt a connection with him somehow. I saw people on the plane from high school that I had not seen in years or had even kept in contact with, so I am not sure what is going on about that or why they were even in my dream. Eventually day broke and sunshine started shining into the plane windows, and we all knew we must be getting close to our destination. This was a large airplane with about 10 seats in the middle of the plane on each row, and about 4 seats on each row on both the left and the right side of the plane, so we were talking about a very large plane. But it was not completely full. There were empty seats in the plane, and contrary to how you're supposed to stay seated, people were up and walking around in this plane while it was flying. We and meaning all the passengers, found ourselves on the ground and started to unboard the plane. While we were still in the plane, though, there was this big screen, like this is before we landed, there was this big screen that came on in the front of our passenger section, like a big flat screen, and it looked sort of like it had a Pac-Man characters on it with little squares or apps on it. The apps told us that there was no vacation and that there were no hotels set aside for any of us, and that when we got there would be nothing for us. We'd be on our own. Turns out it was a scam and a hoax, just like I had thought it might be before I got on the plane and when I was told that I had won this vacation. I was sitting next to this guy, again with the red and blue t-shirt or shirt on, and started to think to myself, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? Because once we land, there will be nothing. I'm pretty sure I only have a one-way ticket, but I need to look in my purse again just to be sure. However, my purse was not handy at the moment, So I was going to have to look for the ticket once I had access to my purse again. It went dark in the plane again, and this guy wanted to make out again, but I wasn't in the mood. And also it seemed like the sun was coming up because sunshine was starting to shine through the plane windows. Once everyone was off the plane, we were all in this cafeteria type of big room that you would see in Mexico. It wasn't a very clean room at all. The floors were dirty and the tables were kind of old, and it looked more like a cafeteria in a jail with tables in the main room for people to sit in. And this is where we went to once we unboarded the plane. I started going around asking people who were sitting at these tables, because they were all passengers with me, what they were going to do, because apparently they were scammed also, and they didn't have anywhere to go either. A lot of them just looked at me like they didn't care and it didn't matter to them. They also wouldn't answer me, and instead would turn and walk away or just get up from the table and walk away. I was the only person walking around talking to people and trying to figure out what we were going to do next. Yet as people kept ignoring me and walking out of the room, while I kept asking them, where are you guys going and what are you going to do with your luggage, etc., I then saw my luggage. It was 2 small brown cardboard boxes and 2 gallon-sized Ziploc bags. One had a light blue and white item in it, and the other had a red and yellow item in it. They were big items, that's why I needed the gallon-sized bag. And they were sitting on the floor underneath one of these tables in front of the doorway that left the room, that walked out of the room, or that led out of the room. I didn't have an actual suitcase with me, it appears, and these items were sitting underneath one of the cafeteria tables. I was thinking, where am I going to go, and where is everyone else going, because they were getting up from the table and walking out of the room. Some of them I felt like they had a round-trip ticket and were just going to go back to America. Then I realized the place I was in was Guatemala, because that's the name that came to my mind. At first I thought to myself, is it Guantanamo? Because that is a similar name, and it was also a jail, but I felt like I was actually in Guatemala, not Guantanamo. And I don't know why I dreamt that, because I have never been to Guatemala. I've never had an interest in it. I haven't seen it on the news, read it, heard it. There's no reason why Guatemala should show up in my dream. As people started clearing out the cafeteria room, and I didn't know where they were going or what they were going to do next, I decided to look in my purse, and sure enough, I did only have a one-way ticket. So I had no way to get back home, and no money or credit cards on me to buy another ticket back home. I was stuck, and I was trapped there. Now, I also had no hotel and no vacation, prize that I had supposedly won, and everyone with me was leaving me and abandoning me. I was left standing there pretty much by myself, and I started to cry. I got my cell phone out and called my dad back in the United States, but the connection was so static it sounded almost like one of those phone calls from the 1940s, maybe, like from an old phone, at the beginning when phones first were being used, I guess, whenever that was. But it just sounded like a bad connection. I was frantic on the phone, crying and telling my dad where I was and how this was all a big trick and a scam, and now I was trapped down here with no way back home. I don't know if he ever spoke back to me or answered me, and I don't know if I stayed on the phone with him. I just realized that I was trapped there in no man's land with no money, no hotel, and no way to get back home or fly back home. It was the most awful feeling. I started walking out of the cafeteria without my luggage. I just left it there on the floor, and the things, and noticed windows. When I walked out of the cafeteria, I noticed this big, long window along the corridor. It was on the left-hand side that led out from the cafeteria, so it was like this long hallway. And I don't know where the hallway left, but the corridor had a big, long window on the left-hand side of it, and on the right side there were small shelves, and a small metal door that was sort of like a post office box door, but it looked like a miniature jail cell door. And it was only tall enough for a Barbie doll to fit in it, so it was small. A person couldn't go through it. I looked down on the shelf in front of one of these doors and saw my name. It was typed, and there was some type of number underneath it. The paper was taped to the shelf in front of that door, and I realized that must be my quote-unquote post office box, sort of, where my check went for this vacation, because apparently I had to contribute some type of money in order to win the vacation, which is usually how scams work. You have to send something in first. Again, none of this made any sense, but again, this is why I thought it was a scam at the beginning of the dream. Also, I started feeling like I was actually in a jail, and that I had gotten myself trapped in there, and this metal door and the number underneath my name was my inmate number. I then woke up because I startled myself awake. Thank goodness for that. I don't know what is going on here or with me. This follow the flight plan video, maybe I am being tricked in thinking that I am in control of my own plane or my own life. The thing is, in this dream, I wasn't flying the plane, I was the passenger. And then my understanding video that I posted afterwards, maybe I don't really have understanding of all this at all. I woke up thinking darkness is still wanting to snuff me out. I know it has been after me pretty much my whole life. This is why I have kept myself hidden for most of my life. I am only out in the open now because supposedly I came back to life like in November 2014. As strange as that sounds. And that's a long story too, which I won't get into here. I need help. Divine, please help me. Who am I that darkness always wants to kill me or snuff me out or lock me away in a jail? It is fucking relentless and won't stop. But you will not beat me. The divine and love and light will win in the end. You will not snuff me out, darkness, and I know you are trying many ways to snuff me out and get rid of me. Yesterday I almost felt like I was going to die. I am seriously thinking of writing a book about my life. It will be my legacy before I go. I feel like my job here on earth is done. But if it is, then why is darkness still trying to give me a one-way ticket to prison and keep me there? I just got out of hell and the dungeon and prison. I don't want to go back. But it knows me, and it is following me, maybe not physically, but spiritually. After I woke up, I looked up Guatemala on the internet, and a picture of a large black lizard that looked like a black alligator came up as a picture. He's trying to kill me or lock me back in prison, but I don't want to go to spiritual jail again. I was watching the movie Snow White and the Huntsmen last week. It came out in 2012. It was on DVD. It happened to show up in front of me at a store I was walking through, and I just felt impressed to get it. She also, Snow White, gets locked in a jail as a little girl until she's grown, but then she manages to get out and escape and flees into the dark forest unknowingly, which is likened to the wilderness of the Bible. When they escaped Egypt, they went into the wilderness. The Dark Queen needs Snow White's love, light, and purity. It's her energy source in order to live forever, and that is why she wants her. She needs to kill Snow White so that she can take her life force energy from her, for only her purity can kill the darkness, so she is a threat to her and her arch enemy. I know in my walk I have had several quote-unquote huntsmen be brought into my life to guide and protect me over the 21 years that I've been walking in religion. This Snow White movie is one that came out in 2012 and is from the same producer as the 2010 Alice in Wonderland movie. There is truth to these movies, even though most people watching them do not see it and only watch them for entertainment, but there is truth in them. I need a band of spiritual soldiers and men around me for shelter and protection. Just as Snow White was not afraid to go into her father's castle that had been taken over by the Queen of Darkness, so she could reclaim it for love and light. She took a band of men with her for support, and she was not afraid, and neither am I. I need love to help me. P.S. I know what that guy in the airplane that I had the sexual attraction to, who had the blue and red shirt on, was. It was a diversion and a distraction to keep me from realizing where we were actually headed. Sex and romance will always sidetrack you when you have a job to do. But the screen came on and in front of everybody and told me the truth, that this whole tropical vacation trip was really a scam, and there was no vacation there. As for the band of men who have been in my life, in real life, I was placed with a military man, a Marine, who also became a corrections officer at a maximum state prison, and he helped me as a friend. I never got in trouble physically in jail or nothing like that. I was also placed with a man who taught me about carpentry, wildlife, and surviving out in the wilderness. I was also placed with a man who taught me how to build an off-grid dwelling place, and I was placed with a man who was a warrior and who knew about fighting and self-protection. All of these men were brought into my life over my 21 years of walking through religion and truth-seeking, and they taught me to survive until I was set free again in November 2014, like I mentioned above. And this is a spiritual freeing, not a physical one. And now I am free to live my life, but the divine did bring huntsmen across my path and in my life to teach me and train me, because I was a warrior woman at heart. It was my destiny to do this job. My father beat the shit out of me growing up and turned me into a sly warrior, but my mother had the divine's love and light and purity in her. I am both of my parents. I was born for this job. I know this now, but when I was going through it, I didn't understand it at all. I hope darkness is not still trying to put me out, but according to my dream last night, it feels like it is, on my heels again. Men and women, rise up. We need to take this world back for love and light. Thank you everyone for letting me share, and I will talk to you again in the next video. Bye-bye. Hi, I want to share with you what came to me later about the meaning of this stream. What came to me later is that this lottery ticket price or prize for a tropical vacation that I was supposed to go on, that I had supposedly won, is people thinking that they have won the lottery or the prize with Jesus and religion, or through religion. It is their golden ticket, so to speak, to heaven, or to a tropical place, to a nice place. But when I got there in the dream, it turned out to be a scam and a hoax. There was no vacation. There was no tropical vacation or heaven. Instead, it was a jail with a big black lizard alligator. Because when I looked up Guatemala, after I woke up, there was a picture of a big black lizard who lives there, and he looked sort of like an alligator. Notice also that I was not flying this plane, I was a passenger in it, as opposed to being the captain of it. So I was being taken somewhere else. And that's what religion does. It takes you somewhere because you give up being the captain of your own ship, the captain of your own life. You give it up and let someone else steer the plane for you. In this case, Jesus is what they were in religion. So but this plane didn't land you in this heavenly tropical paradise. vacation that you had won that landed you in jail down in Mexico, somewhere else, somewhere in a dirty building. So it's just something to think about. All right, thank you. Bye-bye.